My name is Lauren, and I'm going to talk to you about how BARC's data team created a feedback loop between BI and data science. So my life story, a little bit about me. So I'm from New York City. I played tuba at a famous public arts high school. I majored in economics at Stanford. Ironically, I accidentally kicked my career off at the height of the financial crisis. Then I helped get the mayor's office of data analytics off the ground for New York City and built an app to share and analyze my text conversations, your text conversations, really anyone's. And then most recently built out the data function at BARC. That was probably more than you needed to know. But finally, top of mind, my cat Meow Meow is my ray of sunshine. Let's talk a little bit about BARC. I'll give you a brief history. So BARC was founded in 2011 by Matt Meeker and Carly Strife and Henrik Werdelen with a mission to make dogs happy. The initial product still exists, a themed monthly box, which includes toy, treat, and chew subscriptions. We have two brands. One is BARCbox, one is Super Chewer. And that's been the core revenue driver for a long time at BARC. Then we moved on to selling a la carte items in retail and e-commerce. So we're in physical stores, we're in online marketplaces such as Amazon, Walmart, and then we have barkshop.com, which is our home e-commerce site. Then we moved on to covering everyday dog needs such as food, wellness, and essentials. That includes Bright Dental, which is a dental subscription, and Eats custom food service, as well as essentials. So fast forward a little bit to September 2020, we got a new CEO, Manish. So he joined pretty recently. And then this month, actually, we IPO. Now we're publicly trading on the BARC ticker, and we're valued at over $2 billion. So yay us. Now let's talk about the data team. This is the BARC data team mission. Our mission is to support BARC in discovering insights and making decisions that drive measurably improved performance. So that's going to come up a little bit later. But what does the team look like? When I first joined in September 2018, the team looked like me and just one incredible data engineer working doggedly. And our remit was to lead the application of data analytics, machine learning technologies, and data infrastructure all under the CTO. Fast forward to now, June 2021, we have 12 total team members. Our team is spread across 5 different locations, and we all speak a common language of Python, SQL, and of course, English. So let's talk about the pain point, which kind of came to a head in 2019, which was that we wanted to share, track, build, and iterate efficiently. That's the problem. Why did this start in 2019? We hired our first data scientist. At that point, we were 5 total team members, and we were still building foundational data and reporting, given that the team was so new, and everyone was wearing multiple hats, really. So the challenge was, how do we make sure that we don't accidentally reinvent an existing solution, meaning that any sort of transferability in one person's work can get surfaced in another person's work. We don't have time to document things using presentations. We're just too busy, and we needed to share and build on insights. So in trying to solve this problem, everything's a ticket, a task ticket. So the ticket was called a blogging tool that integrates with G Suite. That's what we thought would address the pain point. That kind of morphed over time. Someone suggested Google Sites, but there was no blogging functionality. And in particular, what I was looking for was something with a sequential aspect so that we could see the development over time and the latest and greatest on top. A tagging aspect, so if somebody's going in and they just want to know about retail, they can just click the retail tag and see all of the relevant posts. And then some search capability, so that you can, start typing and it pops up, or it does a text search of the post. So I was reconnecting with a data friend who used to work at Airbnb, and he told me about the knowledge repo, which is an open source tool that they developed to solve the same pain point. And what that does is, most basically, it turns a GitHub repository of Jupyter notebooks into a website of taggable blog posts. And our one and only data scientist at the time, Alex, was game to try setting it up, so we were in luck. And So actually, Alex set it up in a day, and it was his 6th week at Bark. Wonderful work. It worked. It was free. This is a screenshot of our test post, which was trying to figure out if certain dog breeds are better off in Super Chewer or Classic. And you can see some insight about poodles in there. And a week later, Alex already had the website deployed on a Bark domain. You can see in the screenshot knowledgerepo.barkdata.xyz. But we couldn't really launch it right away because, as I said, in our mission to basically drive measurably improved performance puts us in a strategic role. But at the time, we weren't really doing as much strategic work as we wanted. We were really executing a lot of dashboard requests and a lot of reporting requests. So this was a pivotal moment where we wanted to prove that we were really driving strategy, not just making dashboards. So before we launched it, 4 of us spent a few days in Bark's Columbus office, and we wrote 5 more posts. And each of them had a focus on either retention or NPS, because those were 2 metrics that were very often talked about throughout the business and amongst various stakeholders. So we thought that people would be interested, and they each addressed the business question. And we started emailing and slacking out links to stakeholders. Initially, we could only see view count, which you can see over here. It says viewed 51 times, but we couldn't see the unique user count. So we weren't sure, is it just that the people on the data team are just clicking these links over and over again, or are these actually getting shared? When we finally began tracking unique viewer count, we could see that they were getting forwarded more widely. And that was how we knew that things were going well. Any sort of nerdy details that I could put together for this presentation, I did. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into this. I'm not the one who implemented all of this. This was much better coders on the data team, but I'm just going to say some of the weird kinks as well as nerdy details. So we deployed it on Kubernetes. It has continuous integration to the master branch on Git. You push your new post to master, and in a few minutes, the knowledge repo is up to date. We actually had to edit the source code to get user authentication working via Google. We needed to fix broken redirects after SSL was implemented. It was initially only accessible on internal networks, and we had to implement Google IDP so that we could securely make it available from anywhere. And after we did that, we saw that executive stakeholders began using it more consistently because they could finally access it from home or on their iPhones or smartphones. And later on, we added proxy hosting for interactive data visualizations so that we could link to interactive visualizations in the posts. And we recently fixed a bug where you had to click sign in twice. It's required some maintenance, but it's generally been reliable and has helped with the pain point. So the title of this presentation, what am I talking about when I say a feedback loop between BI and data science? So this is a very simple visual representation. Basically, business intelligence surfaces insightful hypotheses and questions. BI raises more scientific questions, which we can then address on the knowledge repo. And then the knowledge repo posts can enhance the BI roadmap and even accelerate it. So I'll talk a little bit more and give some examples. So BI raises scientific questions, and then data science addresses them on knowledge repo. So this is an example here, an actual post where you can see that a GM commissioned the post, a data scientist authored it, and then other people are getting credited for input, which can be business or product context, additional data sources, or insights found from BI. And in this example, people in BI roles were finding associations between product scores and product tags being like nylon, like the toy is nylon. And so we wanted to see how well we could model the relationship using machine learning, and then what does the model suggest about product strategy? So that's the first example. And then how does knowledge repo accelerate and enhance the BI roadmap? So one common case is introducing new metrics and proving their importance. So in this example, there was a question of whether customer service response times drive increased customer ROI. And we wanted to both prove that out and explore which versions of that metric, the response time metric, represent that most effectively. And then the next step is for BI to choose a version of the metric that works best for the business and make it available. And because there's a post explaining the relationship to other metrics, it's now easier to socialize the metric. And then the final example I'm going to talk about is how prototyping new data warehouse tables and demonstrating how they can be used. This is an example. It actually goes on and on. It's not just a SQL query, but pulling dog birthday for website prospects and showing why and how it needs to be cleaned for us to infer the dog's age, and then actually constructing a cleaned table for analysis where we have that cleaner dog age. And then the next step for BI is to build it into the data warehouse. It's been clearly defined in code already, and the reasoning behind the business logic has been documented. So that concludes my examples. And now my shameless plug to join us. The BI team needs to triple in the next couple of months. The data science team is focusing on building blocks of personalization, and we're hiring for 3 roles. And then more generally, the tech team is focusing on growing eats, cross-sell, upsell, and end-to-end site and app experience, and is also hiring many roles. So if you're interested, hit me up, ltalbot@barkbox.com, or just go to bark.co/jobs. Anyways, thanks for listening to my presentation. I think with our first BI director, Kat, who just joined this year, and more analytics engineers joining her team, the next step for the knowledge repo is to have BI vetting, disseminating, and co-authoring posts. So that's our vision. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions for Lauren? We can do one question if anyone has time. I think I have one. Who do you think is a good fit for this? Is it everyone, or which companies do you think would be like a good fit for implementing the knowledge repo?
I would say any team with a small or lean budget that's doing both BI and data science would be an excellent candidate.
Gotcha. And do you think that there is a minimum internal team size that is worth having on staff? And it sounds like you did it with a pretty light crew, but would you say don't try this at home unless you have X?
Yeah, I guess don't try this at home unless you have at least a team of 5 really great people.
Perfect. And then I guess I'll sneak in one more question. What does leadership at Bark think about this? Like I saw you showed an example of a senior person requesting something, and I saw there was inputs from folks like analysts as well as the CTO. To what extent do you have visibility from the senior leadership on your knowledge repo?
Yeah, so the senior leadership definitely consumes things from the knowledge repo. I would say how they consume it is case by case. So some people like to go and read the post directly because they like that level of detail. Other people might have an analyst on their own team who they would ask to read it for them and summarize or explain. And then for some people, some stakeholders, we use it as a launching off point to construct a presentation if we need to go that route, which we do often.
And theoretically, you might define something through your research here and then productionize it in Looker, right? Like you might prove out a metric, and then it might get elevated to the big leagues of LookML or a BI tool.
Yeah, it's Periscope, but yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And then it could also go into Airflow, which is where we do a lot of our data processing, all of our data processing.
Thank you both.